Konnichiwa.
Welcome to the Jandals in Japan podcast.
Kia ora, Catherine.
Konnichiwa, Jane.
So we have an exciting announcement today for this episode. We have a new team member on Jandals in Japan.
Yay, how exciting.
We'd like to introduce to you our cross-cultural communication intern, Taiki Ito. You might have heard Taiki's name before. We've introduced him as a super fan and given him a shout out on the show. And that has kind of escalated. Tell us a little bit more about what's happened, Catherine.
Well, yes, he's just so keen on Jandals in Japan. He's so interested in the cross between New Zealand and Japan and our way of doing things. He calls it a unique business culture that we have as New Zealanders. And that led him on his little search down the road to Jandals in Japan podcast. And he was avidly listening. I think he got in touch with you. And from there, long story short, I met him at the JNZBC, the Japan New Zealand Business Council conference in Rotorua. We got on like a house on fire. He then suggested something to us, Jane.
Yeah, so he was thinking that it's a shame that Japanese people cannot potentially access the information that's in our episodes because of the language barrier. And he would like to do some Japanese kind of summaries of things that he found interesting from the Japanese point of view about what we've been talking about. So New Zealand people talking about Japan and then a Japanese person synthesizing that for Japanese people.
Fantastic. What an idea.
Yeah. He has been writing blog posts about episodes that he's interested in, and those are going to be available on our website. We'll put some links in the show notes when they're available. And if you are a Japanese speaker, you can also enjoy Taiki's takeaways or what he calls golden jandals from our episodes.
Love it. Oh, he's so good. Thank you so much, Taiki. We can't wait to keep on working with you, and that we hope everyone, if you listen or watch, read a blog, please do give us some feedback. Taiki would love to hear that.
Yeah, he's put in a lot of work and they're very entertaining. So, yeah, please enjoy. And who do we have on the show today, Catherine?
Speaking of entertaining, this time we're speaking with Gareth Pigeon. He's the Deputy Head of Mission and Consul General at the New Zealand Embassy in Tokyo. He's come a long way from those roots way back over there in New Plymouth to his current diplomatic role. He's sharing with us, yes, exactly what it's like to be a diplomat on the day-to-day, as well as give us some insights to Japanese culture and how Kiwis and fans in Japan can really get into some of the celebrations that the New Zealand Embassy hosts, such as Matariki. You'll need to listen to the end, I think, to get some really good tips on vegan ramen, which, gosh, Gareth, who knew? He has got his ear to the ground on that one. So please enjoy.
Yeah, let's hear it from Gareth. Kia ora, Gareth. Welcome to the Jandals in Japan podcast. Great to have you on the show today.
Kia ora, ohayou gozaimasu. Thank you for having me.
Gozaimasu. So, Gareth, we usually start with a warm-up question. Tell us your favorite Japanese phrase that you use in diplomatic circles. Is there one that we might not use in other situations, or maybe we do?
Well, a lot of my meetings are actually in English, but the ones that are in Japanese are just a minefield of polite business language, right? And I think my go-to is probably always "osewa ni natte orimasu," which literally means I'm imposing on you, you're taking care of me. And you can just use it in any situation to break the ice, whether the person's done a lot of favors for you or you barely know them. It just sets everything at ease.
Yeah,
So I
very
think that's
good.
my style.
Oh, that's a good one. That's
You use
a
that one
really
much,
good one.
Catherine?
Oh, I use that a lot. Like every day I would use that.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
When I'm meeting people, yes. And when I try not to do the highly polite form that you just used there, or natte orimasu, I'll still say it. And then I have to realize, no, natte imasu is okay. Or say when
Right, to bring it down a notch. Yeah.
bring it down a notch, but I use that all the time. It's a great one.
Yeah, I use that one too, mostly when I'm call up my kids' teachers at school. And I say that. And because it's something that, yeah, definitely used between even between teachers, between co-workers as well. So there you go.
Right.
Yep. What's your one, Catherine?
Well, I was going to say,
You're not diplomatic, but maybe
no, I'm not
business.
diplomatic, but in business, especially with, boards, secretariats, and you're writing a lot of emails, it doesn't matter how many years you've been in touch with them. So for one company, 4 years, and you never lose the politeness. It's always the same. You don't go
Mm.
down to casual friend Japanese. So a lot of phrases that I use are like, shite itadakimasu desho ka?
Mm.
Shite itadakimasu desho ka? So it's those times when you need to be direct due to something being timely, but you don't want to lose the politeness and you just want to keep going smooth but direct. So go kakunin shite itadakimasu desho ka? Could you please check it? Or go tai o shite itadakimasu desho ka? Could you look after that for me? So
Mm.
it's quite direct, but it's still polite.
Mm.
But
Very
depending on
polite.
the situation, I use that quite a lot. Yeah. Hopefully
Hmm.
that's helpful, people listening. Jane, what about yours?
I was going to say, I just used that phrase this morning.
Oh,
So I was feeling very proud of myself in an email to someone to get them to do something I wanted them to do. So, yeah, I'm feeling like, yes, I nailed that one. Thank you, Catherine, for confirming my suspicions there. Most of my life revolves around baseball and other parents at baseball. And so when you're wandering around the baseball field, you must always greet everyone. You can't just walk past someone and not say anything. That's super duper bad mojo. You can just go with "Otsukare sama desu," which just means we're all basically tired and working on something together, and hello, all mixed in as you're walking by someone. Or if at the end, when you're leaving, you can say
yeah.
"Otsukare sama deshita" and leave. And
Yes.
so that's a really, really useful phrase that if you're not using it, you might notice people using it in different situations.
It's everywhere, right?
Mm.
Going into the bathroom, you cross paths with someone,
Yeah.
or coming into, getting into a car or getting out of a car. It's "Otsukare desu" or "Otsukare desu." It's used a lot, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that
Very,
one.
very useful.
Well, there you go. That's the phraseologies from here. No cost to anyone listening today to have those free Japanese lessons.
Years of
But
mastery there at your
we
fingertips. Yeah.
let's get into it because I want to welcome you, Gareth. First time on Jandals in Japan. We're excited to
Yes.
have you. You're someone who truly embodies the spirit of grassroots connections between New Zealand and Japan. You're currently the deputy head of mission and the consul general, which I didn't realize until I saw your profile. But you're also consul general at the New Zealand Embassy in Tokyo. But your Japan story began a lot earlier than that, right? You had learnt Japanese at school, we believe, and then you came to Japan for a little while, and now your journey's kind of come full circle. So we're really excited to hear what's happened for you and with you and to you since you joined the Ministry of Foreign Affairs back in 2007, and you've been now keeping on working to build the strengths between our two nations in Asia. So let's hear about it from you because we want to hear your journey from student to diplomat, maybe the things that have changed in Japan or possibly not, and all the connections you've had along the way. So we will include your full bio in the show notes later, Gareth. But to start us off, do tell us about your New Zealand roots, where you grew up, and what got you thinking about Japan and coming to Japan first up.
Sure. Well, thank you, Catherine. So I was born in New Plymouth in Taranaki, and I grew up there until age 17. I left when I finished high school, but grew up in the shadow of the mighty Taranaki Maunga, which looks like Mount Fuji. So there's always Japan being talked about in Taranaki because of the connection between our two mountains.
Yes.
So I don't know if that was an inspiration for me having an interest in Japanese or not, but I went to New Plymouth Boys High School and they had a Japanese program there. So studied it all through school there. And then when I finished high school, that was when I left New Plymouth and made the move over to Japan.
Right, that seems like so easy to say.
Yeah,
But how old were you then when you came to Japan?
I was 17,
You
but
were
it was
17.
17, but it wasn't my first time. I'd done a school trip to Japan for a couple of weeks when I was 14 with my Japanese teacher and a few other students. And then in sixth form, what do they call that now? Year 12.
I think
I spent
so.
that year of high school in Japan as well, not far from you, Jane. I was up in Ibaraki. I was living in Kita Ibaraki.
Oh, wow,
in the
right. Just
Jorvansen.
over
Yeah,
the border
just over the
there.
border.
Oh
Yep,
my
going to high
God,
school
so
in
close.
Hitachi. Yeah.
Oh,
And then I
wow.
finished high school in New Zealand after that. But by the time I
Mm,
finished high school and thought about coming to university here, I think I'd already got a foundation. So I didn't feel like I was going into the unknown. And 17-year-olds always feel like they're invincible, right? So I don't know if I could do
absolutely.
it now, but back
So
then
you
it felt
really
easier.
like Japanese? It was kind of something you studied and it felt natural to you after you'd studied a long while. I mean, for me,
Yeah.
that's how it feels. Is that how it felt for you?
Yeah, it clicked. I don't know why I love Japanese so much. Just something about being able to communicate so much without saying anything at all fascinates me.
That's so good.
Yeah, the grammar, the writing, the cultural background behind it, it's just such an intriguing language, and it just seemed to suit me. I did pretty well at it at school, and then maybe, benefit of being 15 when I came here for that high school year, I was able to absorb it a bit better. I mean, nowadays in my mid 40s, it's much harder, right? The vocab just goes in one ear and out the other, but got to start young. Right?
Wow. So what
Yeah,
happened next then? Because you've been on the trip here,
yeah.
then you're heading back to New Zealand. So what happens then?
So coming here for the first trip for a couple of weeks piqued my interest to try for a high school year. So I did that, felt very comfortable here. So I went back to New Zealand, and then there was a Japanese government scholarship program run by the Monbu Kogakusho.
Right.
What is it called in English? The Ministry of Education, Science and Technology. And so I thought, okay, I'll give that a whirl. So I went through my usual New Zealand university applications as well, but on the side I was applying for this Japanese program as well. And I didn't think I'd get it, but somehow I did. Some clerical error on the Japanese side or something. I remember going down to Wellington for an interview with the Japanese embassy.
Ooh, scary.
Um, it was a very, very friendly man. Just some hokakomo and bureaucrat talking to a little New Zealand high school student, but he put me at ease. And so maybe just because I was
Wow.
feeling put at ease by him, I did okay at the interview. I failed some of the exams, but I passed the ones I needed to. And so they gave me the opportunity to come here for 1 year of Japanese language study, followed by a 4-year bachelor's degree,
Oh my
um,
goodness.
all paid for by the Japanese government. So
Wow.
I thought, yeah,
That's
absolutely, why not?
nice.
Yeah. So that was what got me here in the longer term.
And that university they sent you to is a top 10 university in Japan at the time.
So the way it works for that program, because you are on a scholarship with the Japanese government, you have to go to a Japanese national
Yeah,
university. So
national
you're
one. Yeah.
guaranteed entry into one of them, and they consult with you through the year. Um,
So how did you end up
but
in that one in particular? Was it the international focus that it has, or about
well,
it?
I actually started wanting to do music. I play the piano, and I wanted to
Mm.
do piano performance, but the teachers had to approve our degree choice, and they didn't want me to do music. Apparently, they'd had a student in the past who'd gone to the Tokyo Fine Arts University, but it had been really hard to get him in. And so they said, no, try something else. And so that was when I thought, okay, well, I'll try international relations. I was
Meant to
already had an
be.
already had an international interest. I was a geography nerd. I liked international history. So I went down that path, and then Scuba had a good international program.
Mm,
My marks at my Japanese language school weren't good enough to get me into the Todai Kyodai level,
sure.
but I was perfectly happy going to Tsukuba. It was nice to be a little bit out of Tokyo as well.
Yeah.
Um,
And some of those
yeah,
top universities, those two top, can put on a lot of pressure as well. And
yeah,
you're still
yeah.
young at this, very young at this stage, right? Even though you'd been to Japan, it's still a young entry. And my goodness, 4 years through the Japanese government, do they still have that program? Is it available for people now? Is it slightly changed?
They
Yeah,
do. They have it at undergrad level, and they have it at
right.
postgrad level as
Mm,
well. It's available to New Zealanders. The thing that makes it hard for New Zealanders is there's a math exam as well as
yes.
English, Japanese, and history. And I got zero for my maths exam when I applied for it. Uh, I wasn't even
Oh,
I
taking
could
maths at
believe it.
school,
Gareth,
Yeah.
but
I feel for you. You're
Mm.
taking me back to a dark day when I also studied for a Monbusho scholarship to come and do conflict of laws. I don't know what
yeah,
I was thinking. because I think that's what let me down is
Yeah,
failing the maths and probably
yeah,
the history part. I didn't really know the history of Japan, and that got me as well. Gosh,
yeah,
that's taking me down a really dark path.
yeah.
But
So,
this is it, isn't it? Something is meant to be. It's meant to be, and if you miss something, you get something else. And with
mm,
Japan, there's so many opportunities
Mm.
there, right?
yeah, absolutely. And at the time, 5 years here, I thought I was done at the end, but it planted a seed in me
Yeah.
that
Mm.
kept me looking back to Japan. And so 20 years later, I thought I'd give it another try.
Fantastic. What about, can we go into one of the strongest memories you have from that time, though? There must be maybe something that inspired you or surprised you about Japan. Because studying's one thing, but actually living here for 4 years at that time, it's a little different,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah.
Well, the first thing that sticks in my head completely, it probably had nothing to do with Japan, actually. It might have just been that I was a 17-year-old who'd just left home and suddenly I was on my own. But I just remember being picked up at the airport with the other four New Zealanders who were going to study at the Osaka University of Foreign Studies, and they put us in a van and took us to the dorm. And we got there. We were living in an international students dorm with about 50 other students. They gave us our key, told us our room number, and just said, go. So I went into the room, and there was a box of Ritz crackers and a carton of orange juice on the desk as our welcome. And then just nothing else. Just, okay, I'm here on my own. I'm 17. I no longer live at home. I've got some crackers and some orange juice to tide me over until I figure out how to do my cooking. Or,
Oh, so you had to do the cooking too yourself in the dorms?
yeah, it felt a little bit Lord of the Flies at first, just as we all figured
Oh,
out how you live when you've left
yeah.
home. I mean, we were lucky the Japanese government was paying us a stipend every month, and of course we, brought a bit of money to tide us over with us. But just figuring out how to do the shopping, how to cook, how to do the laundry, and of course we all in the same boat, so the students grouped together and we figured it out, and it was lots of fun. But that image of the Ritz crackers or the orange juice,
Can't
welcome
get
to
rid of
Japan.
it.
You're
Is
now an adult. Here you are.
Here you are, make the most of it. Did they think that you'd got instruction before coming, or did they just say this is part of it for you to get your roots into Japan? Like if you start on the deep end, you're going to be fine. It's funny. Have you ever figured that out or heard anything about that?
I think it was just in the very structured Japanese way. They had orientations that were coming up over the next few weeks about how to deal with culture shock and how to look after yourself. And so they figured, no, we're not going to look after you on that first day because
To
that
tide
briefing
you
is on
over.
Wednesday.
Right? That's happening
Yeah,
Wednesday.
You were
yeah,
Okay.
obviously early.
yeah.
Yeah. Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
In hindsight, it was good. Just throwing me in the deep end
Yeah.
forced me to swim.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
you're here today speaking to us, so you must have made it. Wow. So
yeah,
before you joined the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in 2007, you worked in defense and immigration. So
yeah,
what motivated you to move into diplomatic service, and how did that bring
yeah.
you back to us here in Japan?
Well, I actually tried to get into MFAT when I was still doing my master's degree in 2003, and I didn't get in. I didn't even get an interview.
Oh,
So for immigration, I had no choice.
I see.
MFAT didn't want me, so I needed to look for something else, and immigration was the first place that offered me a job. So after Japan, I went to London to do my master's, and then I knew I
Yeah.
didn't want to stay there. I wanted to go home. I wanted to be a public servant.
How do you know you want to be a public servant?
Just something about the nature of the work, the international aspect of it.
Hmm.
When I was thinking about MFAT at high school, just jumped out at me. I don't feel like I've got the proactivity and the drive and the creativity to work in the private sector. There's something very comforting about being in the public
Ah, interesting.
service, yeah. And I think I'm just loyal to New Zealand. I felt
Love
like
it.
I wanted to do something for the country, as grand as that sounds.
No, that's
Uh, yeah.
fantastic. And so from your master's in London, you did come back, and that's where you didn't do so well in that exam or process that was there, but you led you to immigration.
Yeah, so they offered me a 1 month contract to help with their backlog of student visa processing. So I
One
did
month.
that, and then they
Wow.
extended it for another 3 months. And then they put me in another job somewhere else in immigration and gave me a permanent contract. But then something opened up in the Ministry of Defence and their international relations team, and that was more in line with what I had wanted to do. So
Mm.
I went over there and was focusing on defence relations with Asia from 2004 to 2007. But then you have to move around in defence as well. And eventually they moved me into a job that was much more focused on defence acquisitions and procurement, which was fascinating, but I didn't want to be pigeonholed into defence industry sort of work. I wanted to be looking a bit more global. So I gave MFAT another try, and the second time around it worked. And
Oh,
so they
there you
took me on
go.
in 2007 and put me on the Japan desk.
How did that happen? Did you ask for Japan desk, or did they just pop you there?
No, they allocate you a role when you come in, and MFAT is an interesting one. It's a balance between trying to make you a generalist, where they get you to try all sorts of different things, but also giving you opportunities to work on skills that you already have. So they put me on Japan first, I think, because of the Japanese background. But then as I wanted to move around later on, that was just fine as
Oh,
well. Yeah.
I see. But does everyone who's done Japanese get on the Japan desk? Because
No,
that sounds
no.
like it's a
Yeah.
great opening for you for then expanding into where you've arrived to now.
Yeah, I think the norm for a new recruit into MFAT is just to be put anywhere, regardless of what you were doing before. But we bid for positions when the rotations rounds come up every couple of years, and
Mm.
we apply for our own posting. So you've got an opportunity to go where you're interested. And to be honest, when I joined MFAT, having done the 5 years university in Japan plus the high school year before that, I didn't want to come back. I felt like I was done already. There was a big wide world out there and other things to try. So
So you
even if the
weren't thinking
opportunity,
about New Japan at that point. You were not thinking
I
about Japan.
wasn't, no, even if they had offered me a posting here at the start, I'm not sure I would have wanted it,
Oh,
to be honest.
interesting.
Yeah.
How long was the Japan desk for?
That was for a couple of years, and then they moved me off to a different division. They had me working on the US for a while, then they had me working on India, and from India, then I went over to my first posting, which was in New Delhi. Yeah,
Ah,
no,
amazing.
but
But
as different from Japan as you can get.
yeah, it is.
Yeah,
But your first posting to Japan, official posting, is the one that you're on now.
the one I'm on now. Yeah,
And when did that
yeah.
start?
That started in the middle of 2023. So 4 year
Right.
posting for me. So I'm here until the middle of 2027.
Oh, we're going to miss you. What's a typical day look like for you there? Because if you're doing deputy head of mission, but you're also doing consul general, there must be a variety of work. Of course, you
Yeah.
don't have to tell us all the secrets, but people probably wonder, what does somebody do in the position you're in? Because for one, I didn't know that you could resit or go and apply again for MFAT. So that's a great
Mm,
fact to know. You're not one and
mm,
done. So what is it like in your work on a daily
mm.
basis?
Well, I often think if we could have a reality TV team in here, it would have the worst ratings ever because in many respects, my job just looks like any other
Right.
office job. There's no typical day. Some days there's way more than I can fit into standard hours, and then there's other days where I'm clock watching, thinking, is it time to go home yet? But if I look at the course of a week, typically because I'm the deputy head of mission, I've got a lot of manager people admin work. I've got a wonderful team of 4 other people from MFAT who report to me. And then we've got some fabulous Japanese local staff, policy advisors, and others who are helping New Zealand advance our interests here. So a lot of my work is taken up by making the team feel happy and productive and coordinated, making it a good place to work. Then aside from the people work, I'll be out meeting with Japanese government contacts to discuss shared interests with New Zealand, whether it's the war in Ukraine or issues going on in the Pacific or trade access issues. I'll be meeting with Japanese businesses that are investing in New Zealand. Often they come in when they've got someone going down to New Zealand or when they've got a new project they want to brief us on. So I'll talk to them. We deal with a lot of groups of visiting New Zealanders, particularly young New Zealanders. Māori youth groups come every year, but also Prime Minister's Scholarship for Asia recipients. So we'll invite them to the embassy and try and instill in them a deep interest in Japan and talk about what we're doing here and how they fit into it. I'll go out and I'll network with Japanese cultural groups and friendship groups. I don't know if many New Zealanders know that Japan's got over 40 sister city relationships with New Zealand. So there's endless societies that are focused on New Zealand and Japan. So I'll go out and mingle with them and give speeches at their events. And then, as Catherine knows very well, in the evenings there's often a reception for networking, whether it's being hosted at this embassy or somewhere else in town. So the evenings can be taken up by those quite a lot. I'm quite an introvert, so I can't do that every night. I need to keep a hold of my own time, but at least a couple of times a week, there's something going on in the evenings where you're out networking with other diplomats or business people. And then there's the consular work as well, which is the consul general part of my job. So New Zealanders who need help in Japan, whether it's because they've lost their passport or because they've got sick or all the sorts of other things that happen to travelers, we're here to help them. So often we'll have people coming in needing a bit of support. And I've got a wonderful team of consular staff as well who take care of most of those issues fabulously. So not many cases actually involve me directly.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
but I do need to keep an eye on what sort of services we're offering to New Zealanders here. I need to look after our emergency planning. If there's a big earthquake in Tokyo or something like that, how is the embassy going to keep going? How are we going to look after our people here? But how are we also going to help New Zealanders who get impacted by it in Japan?
Mm.
Yeah. So a very broad ranging role. There's no 2 days are the same.
Mm.
So you mentioned when we talked before the recording today that you are a living example of these grassroots experiences that keep Japan and New Zealand relationship strong. Can you
Mm.
share a story with us or two that illustrates how that connection is in action with you?
Sure. Well, I'll start small and then I'll go a bit bigger. But the place where I did my 1 year of Japanese language training with the Ritz crackers and the orange juice, that was in Mino City in Osaka, which is the sister city of Hutt City in New Zealand. So I spent a year living in Mino, just going about my daily business, living as a 17, 18-year-old would, probably drinking a bit too much, learning how to
Yes.
cook, all
Yeah.
those things. But coming back here, Mino and Hutt City have got their 30th Sister City anniversary this year. So they've done a lot of celebrations. The mayor of Hutt City came up here. Mino City has sent delegations down to Hutt City as well. So I got invited to speak at their ceremony for the 30th
Mm.
anniversary celebrations. And I threw into my speech that I had lived in Mino before. And suddenly the whole room lit up with applause.
Oh,
There
wow.
was a lot
Yeah.
of warmth, people asking me all about my experiences in Mino, how the place had changed since I lived there before.
Mm.
It wasn't the first time I'd been back since work. I'd also made other calls there, visited with their city hall and their mayor outside of the anniversary as well. But there's always some special sort of warmth there because
Mm.
they know that I've lived in Mino before and they're always inviting me back to attend further events. And if I hadn't had that experience at the grassroots level of living in Mino before, I wouldn't now be in the position where I can help to develop the relationship that Mino's got with New Zealand now.
Yeah.
It's something that I wasn't expecting at the time. Some sort of personal small connection has just grown and come back.
Amazing.
Um,
Yeah.
and then I think I said I was going to go into something bigger. I think the fact that I came back to Japan at all for this posting is just an example of grassroots connections. I said before that when I finished university, I didn't want to come back here. Been here for quite a while. I wanted to try other things, but there was always an appreciation for Japan there that they had educated me. It's a very warm, generous country that had been very good to me and had shaped the course of my life. So 20 years on, once I'd got scratched the itch of trying other things, I felt like I wanted to give back. I wanted other young people to have the same sort of opportunities in Japan that I had had. And I wanted to be able to say thank you to the Japanese government. So I thought, okay, I'll do the posting here. I'll spend the time working with the Japanese government to advance our shared interests between Japan and New Zealand, but also talking to young people here, whether they're the youth groups that come through to visit or the JET people that come to teach English, just making sure that New Zealanders know how much opportunity there is for them in Japan because I had the same.
Lovely, lovely.
What a
How does
great
Japan
story.
feel this time around? Like, does it feel different? Does it feel partly the same? Is it, you've got this sort of hook over in Mino, so you can go there
Yeah.
anytime for a bit of getting back to your grassroots. What's changed for you in your daily life or opportunities or way that you're connecting from back then to now?
Well, there's some things that have changed markedly and other things that haven't changed at all. So on the ones that haven't changed at all, I still see Japan having the same debates that they were when I was a university student here, whether it's about reforming Article 9 of the Constitution on, the right to have a military,
Yes.
debates about the aging population and how immigration fits into that. It
Mm.
doesn't really feel like much has moved on, but it feels like the Japanese way is to debate everything for a long time, bring everyone along, rather than getting into the sort of rigorous, rambunctious debate that we might have in New Zealand or elsewhere. So I see that carrying through right now. But things that have changed, Japan feels way more accessible and open-minded. It feels like Japanese have got their mojo. They're very comfortable dealing with foreigners in a way that I'm not sure they were as much when I lived here before. They don't bat an eyelid when they see foreigners around, even in the countryside, I've noticed. People aren't surprised anymore when I can speak Japanese, and they are much more open-minded and not fazed by difference. So I'm a vegan. Back when I was a student here, it was very hard to find vegetarian or vegan food, and Japanese didn't really know what it was. They would just look at me in horror and not know what to do with me.
Yeah.
Now there's plant-based food all over the place. Everyone understands what it is, and no one thinks twice. It's just not something that's interesting about me anymore for the Japanese. And that's just one example of where I see them being a lot more used to all the different shapes and forms that people come in. I mean, Japan is famous for having this group culture and seen as this uniform place, and maybe that was the case a long time ago, but I don't see it so much now. It feels like people are really able now to encourage their own interests and celebrate their own differences.
Love that. I sort of sometimes I think about it in terms of taxi drivers in Tokyo or in
Mm,
Osaka. So they used to never speak to me, and now they can't wait to speak. And then
yeah.
the other day I got out of the taxi in Tokyo, and the taxi driver, we'd been chatting along the whole way on the journey, and I got out and he said, "Thanks for being my friend." I went, "Oh, お友達になってありがとうございます." I'm like, "Okay, thanks so much. I didn't realize I was your friend, but I think he meant for being so friendly." Right. And so
Yeah.
it was a different experience to back in the day when I was, first in Japan 20, more than that, 30 years ago when I first arrived. Wouldn't speak to you, just find the direction you're going to, get out, and that was it. So things have
Mm,
changed. And I love that you said Japanese people have got their mojo. That's
yeah,
really,
yeah.
really lovely to hear.
Yeah, there's a sense of curiosity in the Japanese, and there's a warmth of spirit. They like talking to foreigners, and before they couldn't. I mean, that's a stereotype. A lot of them couldn't. But now it feels like they're quite happy to try, and they'll just go and ask and start a conversation in a taxi, as you say.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
How about you yourself, like personally, can we call you middle-aged? Is it
yeah.
middle-aged? I don't know what middle age is now, but you yourself at this stage of your career, shall we say, and things that you've found surprising or have been easy to adapt. And I know also, let's also speak about you, and you've spoken about your experience before as a gay man in
Mm.
Japan. And I'm sure earlier days were harder than they are now, but perhaps you can enlighten us how you've been navigating Japan through this experience and part of yourself.
Yeah, sure. Well, I definitely am middle-aged. I'm not afraid to say I'm 46 years old now. I was 22 when I graduated university and left Japan after those university years. And when I started this posting, how old was I then? So I've gone through my own coming out journey, and as a 44-year-old in Japan, I've got a lot more self-confidence about who I am compared to what I was like when I was 22. So maybe the fact that being a gay man in Japan feels very different to me now compared to how it felt then is because I've also grown and gone on the journey of coming out and developing my own life with my husband in the interim. So it feels a bit weird now to look back to when I was 22 here and say that it was Japan's fault that I wasn't comfortable being a gay man here, because maybe it wasn't. Maybe I just had some growing to do first. But it was definitely not talked about. The LGBT community was not really visible back then. Shinjuku Nichome, the gay district in Tokyo, felt like a very small place. I think maybe I knew one or two gay people at university, but there was no LGBT Rainbow Society or anything like that in Tsukuba that I was aware of. And I wasn't out at all, not to my family, not to anyone in Japan. The first time I told anyone was my best friend right before I left Japan. And so then after I went back to New Zealand, well, first I went to London and then to New Zealand, and I met my husband in London and he came back to New Zealand with me. And finding a person who you're going to marry kind of forces you to tell everyone, right? Yeah, when you're in a
Maybe,
serious
yeah.
relationship like that. Yeah. So So I'm being a bit flippant there, but
Yeah.
no, I started coming out as soon as I left Japan, and the process just went from there. And it's such a relief when you
Mm.
no longer have to pretend to be someone else. So everything got much more comfortable in New Zealand, and I wasn't really thinking about Japan. But then when I decided to come back, I had no qualms about coming back here as a gay man with my husband again, because I've got my own self-confidence now. If someone has a problem with it, it's not my problem, it's theirs. And I wasn't really expecting that Japan would make it hard anyway, and that's been the case.
Mm.
Japanese now, as I said, they feel very open-minded. I'm encouraged to see that a very strong majority of people support same-sex marriage equality here. I don't know the number of individual municipalities that recognize same-sex unions, but there's hundreds of them in Japan now. And I think fundamentally, Japanese people want fairness, they want equality, they know that everyone's got the same chances and the same opportunities. And my experience is that they don't want to see people being denied opportunities because they're part of the rainbow community that others have. And as they get more and more used to meeting people from the rainbow community and talking with them, they get more and more comfortable talking about it in general. And now it's gone from never being talked about at all to being something that is talked about all the time. I was really encouraged, I think it was during Pride Week back in June, that one of the newspapers had a whole page of 30 something things that you can do to support equal rights for the rainbow community.
Mm.
And some of it was just about telling other people, for example, that Japan is the only country in the G7 that doesn't have marriage equality, being careful about when you use gendered language at the workplace, and just to see the Japanese even thinking about how they can make society more welcoming for the rainbow
Mm.
community is a real step forward that I didn't see back in the day.
Has there been anyone along the way who's really been very significant, aside, obviously, as well as your husband, but helped you to bring out a lot of that authenticity? For example, your family or someone in a diplomat, maybe a younger diplomat, older diplomat, anyone along the way that helped you? Or you really, how did you find that confidence? Because I think that self confidence has also helped you to actually embrace Japan fully this time round when you
Mm.
weren't really thinking about it. So something's changed there, which is really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that there was any one rainbow person who on their own gave me an epiphany that made me
Right.
think, okay, I'm going to
I'm
live this
going
way.
to.
And yeah,
Yeah.
but working in Wellington and working in MFAT in particular, there are loads of rainbow people all through the public service and a lot in MFAT. And I joined MFAT in my 20s, and I was seeing older people from the community there who'd had successful careers, doing very well with confidence, no judgment for them. And a lot of them had gone through much harder times than I ever had. Some of them were working before we had homosexual law reform in New Zealand. So, really having to be careful about how they balance that side of themselves with their career. And they'd still come through the other side as very confident, strong people who were nothing but successful. And Wellington is just so mixed. No one bats an eyelid. You talk about your husband, no one flinches. So rather than just one person, it felt like everyone around me was lifting me up, and helping me to feel better about it. The more positive responses a young rainbow person gets when they've started to come out, the easier it gets for them every single time. And coming out is not just one decision that you make. You have to decide every time you meet someone new, do I tell this person or do I not? How much do I share?
Mm.
It's a constant journey. So that's why it's really important that people react warmly and positively when they do support them. Tell them that they support them, because it will empower that person to keep going. And that's the point I'm trying to make, that often there's not just one person who inspires you, it's the whole
Right.
community that lifts you up and
Community.
takes you along. Yeah.
And I think also Japanese language is now, it's very equipped, shall we say, for want of a better word, to
Mm,
express, right? You can say anything now. It's not a difficult language now to express that you have a husband and that you live
mm,
together and you met and all the sorts of things that you want to say regularly,
mm,
right? I think Japanese sometimes there's words that don't express what you want to say, but I think for rainbow
mm.
community, it's totally fine. Am I right? Is there anything that's missing there?
I think it's easier than in English. It's a language
Mm.
where you can avoid using gendered words, because you don't have to say he, she, you,
Yes,
I, they.
yes,
It's all implied.
yeah,
Verb endings don't change based on
really.
gender. The thing I find in Japan is I still get people asking me if my wife is here with me. And, there's still assumptions. And I just say, well, I have a partner or I have a husband. And yes, he's here.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I can see in their eyes a slight second of a
Yeah.
reaction and of course correct, but no one flinches, they just adjust. It stops further questions. People don't ask me if I've got children once they know that I'm in a same-sex relationship. So I quite like, as a private introvert, that some Japanese, it will shut down the line of questioning about your family. Not that I'm not happy to share, I am. But
Of course. Yeah.
yeah,
Of course.
one of the most remarkable experiences I've had in Japan recently as a gay man and showing how much Japan has changed was I had to go up to Sendai to give a speech at the 40th anniversary of the Sendai New Zealand Friendship Society. And there was an old man who was talking to me. He'd been in the society for about 40 years, right from the beginning. He must have been about 80 years old. And nearly a year ago, I had done an interview for the Hokkaido Shimbun, the Hokkaido newspaper, about LGBT issues in Japan, talking about my own experience. And he came up to me and said, I read your article and it really moved me. And thank you for doing that. And this is coming from, a Japanese man about twice my age, living in Sendai, raised in a conservative environment. And here he is encouraging me to keep speaking up.
Oh my goodness.
I thought,
Gosh,
wow,
I
Japan
got
really
kind
has
of
changed.
emotional hearing you say that. That is beautiful.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
And I was going to add, as a sort of a voice from the inaka, from the countryside here, where, it's not Tokyo, and people do leave this area in order to access, some kind of community, because there doesn't necessarily seem to be one here. And having lived in the same area for over 20 years, I have definitely noticed that the younger generation that are coming through junior high, high school, university now, for them, this is usual. This is,
Yeah,
they talk about
yeah,
it, and they really care about it.
yeah.
And I have never noticed that until,
Mm,
the last sort of 5 years or so. I would
yeah,
say it's different. Even here, even in this small town where I live,
mm,
kids care about this
yeah,
and care about inclusion, and that people feel that
yeah,
they have the same rights, that they are included. That is the
yeah,
sort of the lifeblood of Japanese life,
yeah,
is to be included. Yeah. So,
yeah. That all said, I don't want to downplay that there are still young Japanese rainbow people who struggle. I hear it from the community here, advocates, exactly what you said, Jane, people leaving smaller parts of Japan because they're facing a lot of pressure and prejudice, and they need to find a community where they can feel a bit more embraced. So it's definitely much better than it was, and it's I think in a good place for me personally. And as you say, a lot of young people are talking about it much more and seem like it's normal for them. But there are still people who are struggling, which is why we've always got to keep working to help them feel supported.
All right. So obviously you mentioned before you had a lot of people from New Zealand who you look after when they have disasters. There must be ways to try and prevent those that are happening, but some just come up. But if we talk about an X factor or something that really works for New Zealanders coming into Japan to be successful here, what have you seen across the business and diplomatic areas, education, that has showed up for you as being a way of being successful here as a Kiwi?
I think it's Kiwis, again, I don't want to get into stereotypes, but overall, there's something humble and a little bit reserved and quiet and self-effacing about Kiwis and the way they engage compared to many other countries that Japan deals with. And I think that makes the Japanese feel that we're a bit more relatable for them. There's a similarity in our cultures and the sort of understated way that we interact with each other sometimes, and not blowing our own trumpet too much. I think it's always good to play that up with the Japanese, put yourself in the other side's shoes, be very respectful of everything that they've achieved, and talk about your own accomplishments with pride and what you can offer, but do it in a quiet and engaging way where you listen to the other side as well. I see New Zealand businesses doing that all the time anyway, because it's natural to our culture, but I really think it sets us apart and makes it easier for Japanese to relate to us.
Wow, that's great. I love that. I love the way you've expressed that. And is there something that you would advise, like a practical tip or a couple of tips that Kiwis coming in here should be sort of prepared for? Like something
Uh,
that might surprise them, but I wish I'd been told that. I wish I'd listened to the
uh,
Jandals in Japan podcast before I came to
yeah.
Japan, which is one thing. But from your side, Gareth, what do
Yeah.
you think?
So the one I wish I'd been told was that it's not enough to just arrive on time for a meeting. You have to get there
Oh,
early. If you arrive on time, it's considered late. Get there 10 minutes early because it shows respect for the host. So I can't think how many times I've offended people by arriving on time. But some of those unspoken rules that the Japanese never tell you, they just all know it and they expect everyone else to comply without telling you. You really need to work to understand those. The formality, even if the Japanese are always smiling and very friendly and polite, the formality and the politeness really matters. And there's lots of unspoken rules underneath them all,
mm,
one of which is never being late, always arriving early.
Mm.
It's really good if New Zealanders can find a Japanese person who will just tell them over a drink sometime. These are all of the unspoken rules that you just need to be aware of.
Yeah, if we could get a list
yeah.
going,
Can we
that
get a
would be
list of that?
Yeah.
amazing,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah. There's a lot of those, that's for sure.
So tell us about Matariki in
Mm,
Japan. I'm very happy to see that this is becoming a regular event that the New
yeah.
Zealand Embassy is hosting. And yeah, so what's happening for the next year coming
Yeah.
2026?
Yeah, well, I'm very proud that we host a Matariki reception for the Kiwi community here now too, because it's a holiday that's all of our own. It's not like any national day that many of the other countries do here. It's something that you only see in New Zealand, and it's got a Japanese link through the Subaru Stars and the Tanabata Festival as well. So it feels very relatable here. In the past couple of years, we've started taking it on the road. So this year we did Matariki in Kansai with New Zealand friends and community down there. Catherine was there. Thank you for
Yes, that
coming.
was so much
Yeah,
fun, and
yeah,
they loved it.
yeah,
Everyone loved you coming to town. Not on the
yeah,
combi van, but at least you came to town, right?
yeah. And so next year, Jane, because I think it's the 40th anniversary of the Auckland Fukuoka sister city relationship, we are considering going and taking Matariki down to Kyushu and doing it in
Very
Fukuoka.
nice.
So we don't have a date yet, don't have our plans in place. It's still a long ways away. But any Kiwis living in Kyushu, I hope they'll keep an eye out for
Mm.
us.
And that's in
Putting it down
addition
there.
to what you'll be doing in Tokyo or
That's in
elsewhere?
addition to we'll still do the community event that we do every year in the embassy. New Zealand friends are welcome to come with their whānau.
Yeah,
It's good food and lots of Māori culture through. We do lots of waiata and things like
yeah,
that, so
that's
it
fun.
feels really authentic. The one down in Fukuoka will be a bit more of it's a little bit more formal, a little bit more networky, but still fun.
And that's round about the same timing as Matariki in New Zealand is celebrated? Is it
Yeah,
sort of
yeah,
around?
yeah. So Matariki next year in New Zealand will be in early July. It makes it hard for us here because we can't do anything outside. It's just too
Yeah,
hot, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
And we may not land right on Matariki for what we do in Fukuoka,
yeah.
but it will be around about that time of year. And
And
same for what we do in Tokyo.
are there some other connections and ways that the Kiwi community can connect to the
Yeah,
embassy? Yeah.
sure. Well, I encourage Kiwis to follow our social media, Facebook and Instagram. We post regularly about what we're up to. So I hope that helps to reassure you that we are trying to use taxpayer money wisely here and do what's best for New Zealand and Japan. You can see what we're doing on Facebook, but also anything that we're doing with the community or interesting things coming up, we'll put on our
Mm.
social media. And then for the business community, there's always the Japan New Zealand Business Council as well, which helps you to maintain connections and build your networks between Japanese and New Zealand businesses. And then the ANZ CCJ, the Australian New Zealand Chamber of Commerce in Japan. They host lots of events, as Catherine knows all too well. So ample opportunities to network and connect with other Kiwis doing business in Japan through those networks.
So, one last question before we wrap up. You mentioned earlier that you are vegan.
Mm.
Can you tell us some of your favorite vegan places to go in Tokyo?
Ah, yeah.
If you want to
Well,
share, or
Oh,
you're
Gareth's restaurant. I heard Gareth has a restaurant. He cooks at home. No, is that
oh,
wrong? Oh, maybe not.
I do cook a little bit at home, but there's nothing more fun than eating out in Tokyo, right? There's so many
Mm.
great hole-in-the-wall places. That's what makes Tokyo one of the many things that makes Tokyo so special. But I'm a big fan of ramen, and there's amazing vegan ramen in
Is
Tokyo
there?
now. Yes, yeah. Over in the ramen street underground at Tokyo Station, there's a place called Sora no Iro that has got
mm,
some great vegan ramen dishes. And down in the basement of Parko in Shibuya, there's a place called Jikase Mensho that also does fabulous vegan ramen. And then just down the way, there's also a drag bar. So you can have a great Saturday
oh,
night by going for your
yeah.
ramen and then going to the dragba.
Oh,
Or
awesome.
the other way around,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, all the other way around. And in between them, there's a vegan izakaya in between the ramen place and
Really?
the dragba. So this little vegan strip right down there.
Wow.
Yeah,
You heard it here first.
yeah.
I didn't know that. That's so exciting. Wow. Anything else then, Gareth, as we wind up, your final reflection, anything that takes your fancy to wind up today and what you're most looking forward to? I guess you've got another couple of years left. What's in
Mm.
store for you?
I think the thing that I'm most proud of for the first 2.5 years I've been here is, from a personal perspective, just being able to come out and be an open, proud gay man and use that as a platform to promote New Zealand's values as well about inclusion and equality and diversity. It's been really rewarding to host receptions with the Japanese rainbow community celebrating Pride, and then to participate in Tokyo Pride as well and do interviews with papers. So I want to keep building on that over the next year and a half and keep seeing how I can, again, give back to younger New Zealanders to help them access the same opportunities that I had. And that's not so much on the Pride thing, that's just talking to as many youth groups that are coming through, students that are visiting as I can, talking to the friendship societies and sharing how I came up through those grassroots links in the hope that it will pique interest for others to look for the same opportunities. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thank you for that. You're now officially a Jandal in Japan. Whew!
Thank you.
Welcome
Koe ni
to our...
omoimasu.
Thanks so much
Thank
for
you.
joining us today.
Yeah, it was fun. Thank you.
Thank you, Gareth, for sharing your experience from university student to coming back as Deputy Head of Mission. That's the New Zealand Embassy of Tokyo. That's amazing.
Amazing. And I just had so many gems thrown through that conversation. Like, I did love when he said, and we both of us had a drop jaw moment when he said communication in Japanese is how you can say so much without saying anything.
Mm. Yep.
It's so true, isn't it? And I think he called it an intriguing language.
Yes, kind of mysterious in that fashion, isn't it? And it can be frustrating until you figure out how it goes, right?
Yeah, but it's such helpful language without saying anything. You can just go and skip off to the bathroom, or you can excuse yourself, but you don't have to say the whole
Yeah,
sentence.
think about
and
English when you
reason.
bump into someone going to the bathroom and you're like, hi, or something. Or bye.
Yeah, it's a
And
bit
in
awkward,
Japanese,
isn't
you're
it?
just like, otsukaru sama desu.
Yeah,
You know
indeed.
what to say. I do like it in that respect, yes.
Yeah, he also, I mean, I also loved how he told us, being thrown in the deep end, he was forced to swim. And I think that's often the case in Japan when you come here. It feels like deep end a lot of the time, but it does actually get you very much swimming as a good swimmer pretty quick, and also diving off the diving board as well. That was a great comment.
Those deep end experiences often become those treasured moments in your life later, looking back, don't they?
Sure thing. And his insights on the plant-based food and how you can find so much variety. I'm just waiting to get into the things that he suggested at the
Yes.
end there.
Please check out the show notes. You can find all of those links, which I have found for you. But also, please know when you leave Tokyo, there will be no vegan ramen. So please eat your vegan ramen.
Eat it while you can.
Yeah, well, in the main centres. Yeah.
Exactly. And I guess, Jane, we have to get on with the unspoken rules list. That would be quite fun. We are welcoming of anybody who is listening in and has something for the unspoken rules list.
Oh, let's start as an unspoken rules list. I like that idea. Let's put at the top what happened on Friday night stays on Friday night.
Don't talk about it on
Don't talk about it on
Monday.
Monday morning. Yeah.
Well done. That's the best one to start with. That was so much fun. Thank you, Gareth.
Thank you, Gareth. More Jandals coming to you soon. Mata ne.
Thanks for listening. Make sure you check out our guests' links in the show notes.
This podcast is brought to you today by Catherine O'Connell Law and Pod Launch with Jane. If you have a great story you think should be on the show, come and find us on LinkedIn or Instagram. We'd love to hear from you. See you next time.
Mata ne!